Hello, and welcome to Fusion Writing, where building character meets creating structure. This is Tuesday, our map day, and it's our 5th week of December. So this is a fun time where we do things a little lighter, a little less serious, but this time we're also setting ourselves up for a whole new year. And I will not spoil any further the surprise, but turn it over to Victoria for her presentation. Victoria?
Hello, writers. Welcome back. Welcome to week 5 and a little bit of fun. One question that I get both from my experienced writers and often from new writers is, how can I insert scenes, ideas? How do I get everything onto the page so that it fits? What does that look like? Well, I'm not going to talk about dialogue and working characters together because Kathleen is going to give you some great tips on that front. Instead, I want you to start thinking about your story in questions. Stay with me. Just follow me on this one. Rather than feeling, especially for my pantsers or my discovery writers, like you must know how you're going to get from point A to B to C, and that you must know the beginning, the middle, and the end of your story, rather than being constrained by all of these rules that you need to know this and you need to know that. Let's set all of those rules aside for a minute. I know, it's giving me hives just thinking about it, but stay with me. How about we ask questions instead? Just let your writer's mind ask questions of the story that you want to tell. Let's say, for example, you have an idea for a story and it begins in a cafe. We love cafes, so we'll start there. And you know that you have to get your character out of that cafe and over to an important meeting in another building. How are you going to do that? You're going to ask questions. You're going to start wandering in your writer's brain. All right, if my character is here and she's had coffee and she's already thinking about her next meeting, then do I want her to just show up in the next scene already at that destination in the meeting? Or do I want some transition? Maybe I want to show her walking the 2 blocks from the cafe to the building where the meeting is, and I'm going to use that 2 blocks as an internal rumination. She's thinking over something. She's chewing on a problem. What you're doing is you're revealing the story to your reader simply by allowing that character to take a long walk and think about it. I use that very thing in my own novel. My main character leaves the museum where she works and she takes a long walk and ends up at a shop that ends up being someplace important. So that's one. Just ask yourself, how do I get my character from where they are to where they need to be, and what might that look like? The second scenario is, maybe you don't like the idea of just being inside that character's head for the whole time. So instead, you do a jump cut, right? Just like you would in a movie. This scene ends here with her walking out the door, and the next scene picks up with her getting out of the elevator and walking into the meeting. So you've used a squish of time to take her from where she is to where she needs to be. The cool thing is, if you apply your craft and you give those things continuity so it's not jarring or weird, your reader is just going to go with you. That's the superpower about being the writer. You get to decide what you include and why it's important for the character, and therefore what you're revealing to the reader. So I'll give you one last one. This is again for my discovery writers. You don't have everything plotted out ahead of time. So instead, you're going to ask, what if? That character is standing at the door leaving the cafe. What if a cab pulls up and she jumps in the cab and there's someone in the cab that maybe she has a conversation with or has an interaction with that shows something about her? Okay, that's one. A cab pulls up and she jumps in it. What if she's leaving the cafe and she gets a phone call and has to turn around and go back inside and sit down? Now she's delayed for her meeting, so you're applying some tension using time or delays. See how that works? If you just ask yourself, if she's standing on the threshold of this scene or this activity or this objective, what if something gets in her way? Something delays her, something distracts her. You can play the what if game all day long with your writing. That's when it gets super fun, because what you're doing is you're challenging your writer's mind to push beyond what you can see right here and consider maybe what's happening over here or what's happening over there. You just play the what if game. What if she runs into an old friend and has a conversation with them? Or what if she sees an old boyfriend and turns and goes the other way, which thereby makes her go all the way around the block and she's late for the meeting? See how that works? You can literally do this all day long. Just play the what if game and allow those scenes to unfold in your head. And then you apply your superpower and you get to choose the one that works the best. You know, I'm going to tell you, each of those little scenes and ideas needs to go on a note card, and it needs to go either tucked away in your plot box or maybe tucked into your dump box for safekeeping later. Maybe you use the idea that she runs into that old boyfriend and walks all the way around the block to avoid him, but it doesn't fit here. I'm going to use that later, so I'll just jot it on a note card and save it for that future scene. That's when you're really applying your skills, because you're collecting those ideas, you're tucking them away for safekeeping, and then when you need to thumb through those things to figure out what she's going to do next later, you just pull the one that works and you insert it where it fits. That is your tip for today. Start asking the what if questions. Start giving obstacles, delays, problems, challenges. Throw those things at your character and see what they do. And then save them on your cards and get that story written. Because you know I like to tell you, and I will keep saying it, get those words on the page because they won't stay in your head forever. Even if it's just a note card, jot those what if scenarios down for safekeeping. With that, I'm going to throw you over to Kathleen to fill out the rest of our episode.
Oh, thank you so much, Victoria. Well, today we're talking about a dialogue between two characters, and the purpose of the dialogue is to find out what happens when you have two different character profiles meeting one another. Let me give you a simple example. You can pick any two people that you want, any dialogue that you want, pick something that goes with your story if you want to practice, or just pick people that you kind of know a little bit if you're looking for more help, if you're a beginning writer, just any two that you want. But I'm going to give an example of a parent and a child. And the child is a teenager, and he's at that age where he's just about ready to go off on his own. He's not college age yet, but he's darn close to wanting to be there. He's just sick of being stuck living with his dumb, stupid parents at home. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a character trait for the boy that's in the wing position. And you know what that means? That means that the boy isn't really clued into this one at all. If it comes into mind, when it does come into his mind, it's just a naggy, and he hears his mom's voice playing over and over, but it doesn't do anything for him because it's in the wing position. And then, of course, you have his parent, mother or father, you get to choose. But for the parent, that character trait is an anchor trait, and a very important anchor trait for that parent. And the parent wants desperately to instill that anchor trait in the kid, because maybe it was a hard-won anchor trait for the parent. Maybe the parent sees in the kid, oh, I had that trait. Oh, it was so messed up, and it messed my life, and I made so many bad decisions until I got it into the rudder position where I could finally take control of it. And now it's an anchor for me, and my life is so much better now that I'm anchored. Okay, so now give it a vent. Something sparked that conversation. Something triggered it off. Maybe it's some trouble that the teen got into where the parent gets to talk to them sternly, or maybe the kid wants to make a big request of the parent. You get to choose what event triggered a serious conversation. And now put those two together and imagine the parent seriously trying to get through to the kid about their values, where the kid just doesn't get it at all. Now you can have an opportunity to play those two voices off against one another and hear how the same character trait in two different positions sounds very different in two different voices. That'll give you a really, really sound understanding, not only of the character trait that you chose, but the difference between what the voices sound like in the anchor position versus in the wing position. So that is my assignment for you. Now, if you're an absolute beginning writer, then all I want you to do is don't think too hard about it. Just think of a parent trying to give some advice to a child who can't hear it, or pick your own scene if you want to pick your own scene. But the idea is you want to get a dialogue where the characters are revealing something about what they feel and what they value and trying to convey to one another. So have fun with it, play around with it. It's the 5th week, so it's all very light. And join us, of course, over in LiLLiPub when you write your story, because we'll talk about it for the first Zoom call of the new year. So Victoria, how would you sum that up?
Oh, it's just always amazing. It's always so cool to watch how different approaches unfold and ultimately dovetail together. So I would challenge you, writers. Challenge yourself to see if you can do both. See if you can, what if that scenario or that situation, and then throw those characters in and let them start working it out between them. I think you will be very surprised at how well this works when you just get out of the way, set the editor aside, and just let yourself play on the page, whether it's with a scene or it's with characters or both. I think you will pleasantly surprise yourself at what you come up with. So start writing, and definitely come over to LiLLiPub and join us, because we would love to see what you come up with when we workshop on Saturday. That's at 1 o'clock Central Time. Just join the Zoom call over in LiLLiPub, and we will see you there and talk about your work.
See you then. Bye-bye.